Hello, John Phillips here with Mansfield University Computer Science Department. In previous videos we set up a Ubuntu LAMP server that can serve web pages, and in this video I'd like to show you a couple different ways you can create web pages on our server. Okay, so I have the Ubuntu LAMP server that we created up and running. I'm going to grab the public IP address and then launch PuTTY, which we downloaded in a previous video. Or if you're on an OS X machine, an Apple machine, you can use your terminal program and SSH to log into the server. So I've already pasted my IP address in here, loaded in my saved settings from before, and we'll just go ahead and open this and get started. So log in as, you can either log in as Ubuntu or let's log in as JDoe, the default user that we set up previously, and password is MUCIS unless you changed it. And now we're logged in. So LS, we see the project folder that we created the other day, and we see a public HTML folder that was created when we set up the computer. Now, to do your normal web pages, you need to put them in the public HTML folder. So let's change to that folder. And there's already a folder containing some test programs there. Let's go ahead and start a new project, and so we'll make a new folder for it. And so mkdir, make directory, and let's call this directory hello. So we're just going to do a simple web page that prints out hello world. CD into that directory. Okay. Now, make this a little bigger. And what I'd like to do now is create a web page. So this is just going to be a simple hello world web page. You can either use Nano or Vim to create the page here. So I'll use Vim, and the page will be called hello.html. So your web pages should end in .htm or .html. Okay, in Vim, we start out in the command mode. We need to now get into the insert mode to type some things in. So hit I for insert. Now I have just a simple little template here that I'm going to copy and paste in. You can go ahead and, if you do any copying and pasting in Vim, get in the insert mode, and if you're using PuTTY, then right click your mouse, and that will then paste the text. So we have our doc type HTML line, and that's what you use for HTML5. And then documents start off with the HTML tag. These things in brackets are tags. We says go ahead and tell them the language is going to be EN for English. And we have a heading section where we set the char set to be Unicode UTF-8. And then if you later on develop so that with a grid system where things can be resized and whatnot, more easily viewable on smartphones, then it's a good idea to have this line in here. And then we have a body section where your main content goes, and right now it just has a heading one tag with hello world. And so just a little sort of a template to get us started. Alright, so now we're using Vim, so to get out of this we'll hit escape. So we're out of the insert mode, and then Shift:\WQ to write and quit. Now to see if our web page worked, there's our web page, and we can see all the permissions if we want to. So it's set for the owner and group to read and write, but everyone else, which would be our Apache web server, it's read-only. And that's all we need for a web page, is just to have the read-only set. Okay, so how do we see this web page? Well, we open a web browser. So I'll open Google Chrome. And then we need to go to our web server's IP address. And so let me look back at our console and grab that IP address again. Okay. And if we just put in just the IP address, we see the default Apache 2 web server Ubuntu page. So what we need to do is follow with the slash and a tilde, and then put in the name of the user that our public HTML folder belongs to. So in this case, we're using user jdoe. And so we could hit enter on that. And then we see we have a hello folder and a test folder. Make this a little bigger. So we'll go to hello, and there's our web page. And when we click on it, we see hello world. If we right click and say view page source, there we see our source that we used to create this web page with. Okay, wonderful. So now we can start building up our web page. Well, that's one way to do the web page. I want to show you a second way, and actually a couple other little gotchas that may crop up. Well, if you don't use that script I gave you and go through the steps of setting up public HTML folders for your users, and you just started with the plain Ubuntu server and just installed Apache 2, well, then you don't have these public HTML directories. What do you have? Well, let's go take a look. I believe they are in cd/var, and there you see a www folder. And then you see an HTML folder, and this gets installed automatically when you install the Apache 2 web server. And there is index.html. Now the contents of this index.html, that's what you saw when we just typed in the IP address, and it gave us this default Apache Ubuntu web server page. That's where it comes from. And so you could put, say you're just going to use the server to support one website, and you don't mind logging in and into var www html and being the root user, or you could, as root user, change the settings. But right now it's set to the owner of all of this is root. So you could become the root user, and you can make changes to this and establish your entire website right here in this folder. So it'd be fine to do it that way. The way that I have it, where we're using public HTML folders for each user, if you had a multi-user system where you're going to have or several different projects that you want in different folders, that way it might be a little bit more flexible. But the Apache 2 web server has all sorts of configuration options, so you could explore that and see what some other possibilities are. All right, so let's head back to our home directory just by typing cd. The next thing I want to show you is another way. Rather than developing right on our Linux web server, we could develop on our OS X machine or on our Windows computer. Now in a previous video we set up our Windows development server. So let me show you how you can make use of that. So I have this Windows dev server already running. I'm going to grab its IP address, and I'm going to launch Remote Desktop, Microsoft Remote Desktop, and paste in the new IP address, and the username is administrator, and connect, and you can set your display and other things, and then when you have it like you want it, connect, and the password. Okay, and we'll connect. Okay, now you don't have to use your developer workstation to do this. You can just install software directly on your Windows machine. The program I'm going to use is WinSCP, so it's free open source software you can download. And let me go ahead and open this up. The other thing I need to do, though, before I actually get too involved with this, is I need to get to my control panel. And if I had set fixed IP addresses, I would only have to do this one time. But since I haven't set up the fixed IP addresses using elastic IPs, I'm going to have to do this each time. And what I need to do is to get into my AWS control panel. So my account, I have to log in. Get that typed in right, and then I need my third factor authentication code, which you may or may not have set that up. That's fine. All right, so here I am at my control panel. Go to EC2. We have the two instances running. And what I'm going to need to do is for my LAMP server, Ubuntu LAMP server right here, I need to change the security to allow my Windows machine to connect to it. Okay, so I'm going to go to security groups and inbound, and I'm going to edit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new SSH rule to allow me to connect from this Windows developer server. So I'll just say use my IP address. And save that. Okay, so with that change made, I should be able to access the server and connect to it here. So I need its IP address. Go back to it here. And this is the Ubuntu LAMP server 0911. Okay, there it is. I need the IP address. Okay, so here on WinSCP, it wants to know the host name. That's where we'll paste the IP address. The username, I'm going to log in as JDoe, and the password, and it might be MUCIS unless you changed it. So we can save this so we don't have to remember it. Thing is, though, that unless I nail down that IP address, every time I reboot, it's going to change. If I leave the server running, though, it'll stay fixed. So anyway, save password, not recommended. I'll go ahead and do that. And we'll say OK. So I'm going to log in. And it says connecting to an unknown server. That's OK. Yes. So WinSCP is a really cool program. It, on the right side, will show you what's on your server. So here I'm in the /home/jdoe directory, and I see I have a project folder and a public HTML folder. Then on the left side, it started me out in user administrator documents, but I can navigate to other folders right here. Go up to desktop or Windows folder, or hit this up arrow right here, double click that, and that'll move you up to the parent directory. And so you can navigate around to wherever you would like to be. So this documents folder is fine. Now over on public HTML, I'm going to double click on that. And I have two directories, a test directory and a hello folder. I want to go ahead and double click on hello. There's the web page we created. I'm going to go back up a level, double click on the little dot arrow there. And I want to copy this whole hello folder to my documents directory. So the way you do that, you just click on hello, and then you click download. And it says, okay, do you want to download that to this location? I'll say okay. And there I now have hello on my Windows developer workstation. Now this program works just the same if you just want to use your own local computer. if it's a Windows computer. If you're using a Apple OS X machine, there's similar software you can get, so you'll just need to research that a little bit and be able to transfer files back and forth. Now on my Windows machine, I can actually work on this program, maybe with something like NotePad++. Let me right click on the program here. Actually, I probably ought to do this from the file manager, but or I could just open Notepad++ and navigate over to that directory. And let me see here, close a few of these windows. And so here's Notepad++, so I could just get over to the open the I want to be where users and administrator and documents, and there's the hello folder, and there's the hello program. I need to turn on file extensions so I can see it's a .html, and so I just want, what was I doing? I just want to open this up, I guess. So there it is in Notepad++. Make it a little bigger for you. So there's our program, and so now we could come and make some changes and add some things on. So let me put a little paragraph tag under hello world. All right, and then in the paragraph tag there, and then we could save this. So now if you make a change on anything other than your server, so you could have made this change on the server using either Vim or Nano, but let's say you do it remotely like this using WinSCP. Now you can transfer that, and you could either transfer the entire folder over, or if you just, maybe you have a bunch of files and you just modified one or two of them, you could get inside each folder and select the file that changed and click on it on the left side and choose upload, and that will replace the same named file on the right side. Now let's say you had some images, and so it's warning you, do you want to overwrite? Yes. Let's say you had some images. Well, you could just have the images here on your Windows computer. You could be modifying them, editing them, and get them the way you want. Then you can just click on the file, the image file, and transfer it right over where it could be accessible by the web server. So this is, it's like an extra step, but if you're more familiar and like better using your Windows development tools or your OS X development tools, you can do your work here and then just easily transfer it to the server. So that's one way. Yet another way is to use a repository like GitHub and sync your work using that. And so I'll show how to do that in an upcoming video. But this is pretty much what I wanted to cover right now. We can go and test it. Let's see, where was our... maybe it was another... Here it is, on another Windows machine that I tested it. Now if we hit refresh, you'll see this is a test of my web server. All right, so that could just as well have been tested from our dev workstation. Let me just copy that. Over here on my developer workstation, I could just right here also run the same test and see the same thing. All right, so hopefully that helped you understand a little bit about the process of creating a web page on the Linux web server, and a couple of different ways to do it. The main thing to remember is if you make a change on your developer workstation to the web page, you have to actually transfer it up to the using a program like WinSCP, transfer it up into the public HTML folder so that it can be visible on the web. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thank you for watching.